Okay, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about how to build a shield, but, not a physical one. We're talking about an emotional one, forged from some seriously powerful ancient wisdom and backed up by modern science. We're going to break down exactly how to find that unshakable emotional stability.
Does this feel familiar at all? 1 minute, you're feeling great, totally on top of things. And the next? A single offhand comment, a small problem at work, or even just a news headline can send your whole day spiraling. It feels like the outside world has the remote control to your inner peace.
And really, this slide gets to the heart of it. This is the choice we face every single day. We can either live in the noise, just constantly reacting, feeling frustrated, and letting external stuff control us, or we can choose to find the clarity, to operate from a place of inner control, stability, and, actual peace. This whole explainer is about how we make that jump.
So let's get into the mechanics of this whole emotional roller coaster thing. And here's the most important part to get right away. If you feel this way, you're not weak, not at all. You're just running on your brain's default setting, which is basically wired to react first and ask questions later.
This brings us to a really key concept, cognitive restraint. I know, it sounds a little academic, but the idea is super simple. Emotional stability isn't about not feeling things. It's about creating a little bit of space, a pause, between a feeling and your action. It's like a superpower, really, the ability to think before you react. And the best part? It's a skill. You can actually build it.
And when you start building that skill, it leads directly to this massive mindset shift. The goal is moving from an external to an internal locus of evaluation. What does that mean? Well, it's the difference between believing life happens to you versus believing that you are the one in control. This belief right here is the blueprint for our entire emotional shield.
Okay, so let's get practical. Section 2 is all about reacting with clarity. We're going to look at the first few habits you can use right in the heat of the moment to turn that knee-jerk reaction into a real moment of power.
So, our first habit is so simple it's almost deceptive. Just create a pause. When something triggers you, your brain just wants to fire back instantly, right? But the Stoics taught that the simple act of observing first, well, it short-circuits that whole impulsive loop.
So what are you actually looking for in that pause? You're basically collecting data. You're asking, what's the actual tone here? What's the emotion I'm really feeling right now? And is there any logic to what's happening? By just asking those questions, you instantly shift from the chaos of that reactive noise to the calm of analytical clarity.
Habit number 2 is cognitive reflection. This is all about learning to question your first instinct. So instead of just accepting that first rush of anger or anxiety as the truth, you ask yourself, why am I feeling this? That simple question helps you avoid what psychologists call black and white thinking, which, let's be honest, is where so much of our stress comes from.
Okay, so we've got some tools for handling our immediate reactions. Now, in Section 3, we're going to start building our inner fortress. This is all about constructing a core of stability that just isn't swayed by all the chaos happening in the outside world.
Oh man, this is a big one in our world today. Habit number 3 is something called low social dependency. It's basically about practicing internal validation. When you don't need likes or praise from your boss or even a birthday to feel important, your sense of self becomes unshakable. It's stable, no matter what anyone else thinks or does.
This brings us to our fourth habit, metacognition. This is just a fancy word for thinking about your thinking. It's the ability to kind of step back and analyze your own feelings like a curious scientist. So instead of being lost inside an emotion, you're observing it. This builds a really strong inner world and makes you way less vulnerable to what's going on outside.
So we've done a lot of work on our internal world, but, we still have to live in the external one. This next section is all about taking active, practical control of your environment to protect your mind from all that constant noise.
Look, our attention is under attack 24/7. So habit number 5 is to apply what's called friction theory to all those distractions. It's about building small, tiny walls between you and the noise. Make it just a little bit harder to get that easy dopamine hit. By doing these little things, you start to reclaim your focus from systems that are literally designed to hijack it.
Emotional stability is almost impossible if your brain is exhausted. And that brings us to habit number 6, a really simple but powerful routine called the 3-2-1 power down. It's exactly what it says. No heavy food 3 hours before bed, no work 2 hours before, and 0 screens 1 hour before bed. This isn't just about sleep, it's about signaling to your nervous system that it's safe to power down and recover.
All right, let's bring this all together in our final section, because this isn't about some massive overnight change. It's about a quiet, consistent path, a path to real inner peace.
And that brings us to our 7th and final habit, which is built on the concept of Kaizen, or the 1% rule. The goal here is not to be perfect overnight. It's just to be 1% better today than you were yesterday. If you can handle just one situation with a tiny bit more calm, that's a massive win. That's how real change happens.
And there's hard science behind this. This is why those small wins feel so good. Getting that micro progress gives you a sustainable little hit of dopamine that keeps you motivated for the long run, way more effectively than chasing some huge, unrealistic goal that just leads to burnout.
So this is really what it all boils down to. Building this kind of stability, it isn't a gift. It's not about luck or genetics. It's an active process. It's a shield you literally build for yourself, piece by piece, one tiny habit at a time.
And that's the question I really want to leave you with. Just imagine for a second, what would be possible if you weren't a passenger on that emotional roller coaster anymore? Who would you be, and what could you accomplish if you became someone that algorithms and the opinions of other people simply couldn't control?